Apologies for a few minutes delay due to the logistics and everything, and thank you for being with us. Thank you for all taking your time from your busy service schedule. It means a lot to have you with us today. Before we dive into our main event, just a bit of housekeeping. Fire exit to the main door. Toilets are behind us, just on that, behind you. And we have some refreshment there as well, so feel free. If you have any concern or any needs, please reach out to one of our volunteers. So we have a number of amazing guest speakers today who will share their experience of their roles within the Green Party and how together we can tackle the rise of the far right. This will be followed by a Q&A session where you will have the opportunity to ask questions and share your own insight. So, since many of you are new to the Green, I would like to start by saying a little bit about the Green Party and what we stand for. For me, when I first joined the Green Party, I realized that the aim of the Green Party is to create balance, not just to protect the earth, but to protect and preserve humanity and every living thing on it. It recognizes and reminds us of our shared responsibility as custodians of this earth, and that there is no environmental justice without social and economic justice, which is why we have in-depth policies on how we can resolve issues facing every segment of society, from healthcare and education to finance and global relations. The far right wants to convince us that the issue our society is facing today, such as the cost of living crisis, our deteriorating NHS and other public services, are caused by the most vulnerable in our society, as they seek to gaslight and stigmatize minority communities. We are here today to make it clear that undermining democracy and abandoning basic human rights is not the solution. With that, I would like to introduce our first speaker, who is one of our Oldham Young Greens and currently studying political science. He has hit the ground running since joining with the community engagement. Please welcome Andrew Jones.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Shams for giving me the opportunity to have this experience and speak today. I'm Andrew Jones, I'm 17, and I joined the Green Party because I'm tired of seeing families like mine being left behind. I come from a family of 9. My mum lives with a disability, my dad cares for her full time. We've always relied on benefits to get by, and all the years we've faced eviction attempts time after time, and we're going through that right now, going through it all again. This isn't just my story, it's a reality for millions. 4.5 million children in the UK are growing up in poverty in the 6th richest country in the world. Families are doing everything they can, but they fail time and time again by governments that talk about opportunity whilst cutting the very support that makes opportunity possible. And let's be honest, Labour promised change, but that delivered little more than a continuation of the Tories. The same broken system, the same lack of ambition, the same fear of upsetting the wealthy and powerful. And now we're even seeing consecutive rises in tuition fees in line with inflation, making it even harder for working class families to access higher education. People are desperate for something different and hope that isn't just built on empty slogans. And I want to be very clear, these issues aren't because immigrants or asylum seekers are coming to this country. These are people who are fleeing war-torn countries, people who are just looking for a home, a place to go home, a safe space, whilst also being scapegoated by politicians and the media. The real problem with decades of austerity and chronic underfunding is billionaires hoarding more wealth than entire communities will see in a lifetime. It's corporations paying poverty wages while raking in record profits. It's a system that rewards greed and punishes compassion. When I was younger, I thought politics was something far away, something that didn't care about people like us. But the more I saw, then the more I realised that the decisions that are made in Parliament determine whether we can afford to eat, whether we can afford to keep a roof over our heads, whether my mum gets the care she so desperately needs, and so much more. I joined the Green Party because I wanted to be part of something different, something human, a movement that sees people not just as statistics, that believes in fairness, in dignity, in housing as a right, not a privilege, a movement that understands poverty, inequality, and the climate crisis all come from the same root, a system built to serve profit, not people. For me, being green isn't just about saving the planet, it's about saving the people who live on it. It's about making sure the next generation of kids growing up won't have to live with the same fear of eviction or choosing between heating and eating. It's about making sure disabled people aren't just punished for existing. And it's about standing with refugees and migrants, not against them, because compassion doesn't stop at borders. Joining the Green Party gives me hope. Hope that young people like me can make a change. Hope that empathy can win over indifference, and hope that we can build a country that. So when people ask me why I joined the Green Party, I tell them because I've seen what happens when people stay silent, and I refuse to stay quiet anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for such an amazing speech. We really have to work hard and bring balance and accountability for the challenges millions are facing around this country. Next, I would like to introduce Hyndburn Green Councillor, who is a retired head teacher and former Assistant Director of Education for Oldham Council. He has awarded an OBE for services in education in 2023. He has been actively involved in local politics, campaigning on issues such as better education, youth opportunity, public transport and housing quality. Please welcome Councillor Shabir Fesl.
Okay. So, I'm trying to work out what this is. Is it a meeting? Is it a conference? For me, this is a call to action. It's a war council. We are at war. The billionaires, the corporate lobbyists, the corporate media, they are attacking ordinary people every single day. In Palestine, they're attacking with bombs and bullets and tanks. In Sudan, they're murdering people for gold. And in this country, they are taking away benefits from old age pensioners, from disabled people, from the homeless, trying to demonise asylum seekers who are running away from the wars that they caused. And all the time, they tell us that they're doing it for us. But they're not doing it for us, they're doing it to us. They are hammering ordinary working class people from every direction, and it's been happening for decades. In 1979, Margaret Thatcher got elected as Prime Minister. At that time, the UK discovered massive amounts of oil in the North Sea. Norway discovered the same oil in the same North Sea. Norway invested their oil for the future of their children in a sovereign wealth fund which is now worth $1.4 trillion, and Norway has the highest standard of living in the world. Margaret Thatcher and the Labour and Tory governments that followed decided that they didn't want to invest the oil for the future of your children. No, they wanted to give that oil money away to billionaires and millionaires. So they used it to give tax cuts to the super rich. People who are my age know that after the Second World War, the top rate of tax went up to 95%. That's why we had no billionaires. It's why we didn't have hundreds of thousands of millionaires. But what we did have was a world-class national health service. What we did have was a world-class welfare service. What we did have was free quality education for all. And what we did have was that people like me got to go to university for free. And we got a university education because at that time we were thinking about our future. We were trying to build our country back up again. And people like me and my parents and grandparents came to this country to help to build it back up again after the Second World War, when it had been devastated by the German bombing. And when there was no one to work in the textile mills, and there was no one to work on the buses, and in the foundries, and in the cement factories. And people like my parents, they came here to do that work. So it's a little bit sickening when you now see that you are branded as the problem. That you are branded not as someone who came here to help, but as someone who came here to scavenge. This is the portrayal that they're putting out there. So when I say this is a war council, that's what this is. We are at war. And our war is not going to be fought with bullets and tanks. It's going to be war, it's going to be fought on social media. It's going to be fought in your house, in your home, in your community, in your school. It's going to be fought in your workplace, in your mosque, in your church, in your pub. Everywhere you go, we have to take the challenge to the people who are propagating those lies. We have to challenge those lies, and we have to replace hatred with love. We have to replace war with peace, and we have to replace corruption with honesty and dignity in politics. And the only way to do that is to get rid of the scum who have corrupted our politics, who have corrupted our national conversation, and who have turned us from a world leader in international law, in democracy, and turn us into a laughingstock all over the world. Because people will no longer listen to the lectures of the West. Because they have seen their involvement in every single war. They have seen the involvement of NATO, of the UK, of the US, increasingly of Germany. They've seen their involvement. They're not bystanders, they are active participants in the genocide in Gaza. They're active participants. The UAE is supplying weapons to the terrorist forces that are carrying out the genocide in Sudan. Those are British weapons they're supplying. We're giving it to the UAE and they're giving it to the terrorists. They are committing the genocide with our weapons. And wherever you look in the world, unfortunately, we're at the heart of those problems. And our politicians are not serving us, they are serving their corrupt billionaire masters. They are, I don't like using bad words, but the only word I can find for them is that they are political prostitutes. They've sold their soul to the devil. They will do whatever needs to be done. They'll do it for the highest bidder. They have no morals. They have no courage. We can't work with them. We can't cooperate with them. Our only option is to replace them. So we have to win. We have to win here. We have to win everywhere. And that's our challenge. So when I say we're at war, we are at war. You have to do your bit. You have to go back into your household, into your school, into your college, into your university, into your mosque, into your community hall, and share the information that people need to make good decisions. I don't believe that the people who voted for reform in bad numbers are all racist. There is no doubt that the people at the top of reform are racist. They have nothing in common with the people who vote for them. 4 out of the 5 MPs are millionaires and have always been millionaires. 4 out of the 5 MPs went to public schools, very expensive public schools. Farage used to work in the city. These are not ordinary working class people. They are using those people to further the agenda of the mainstream, to keep us down, to keep us fighting with each other. Our only hope is to unite ordinary decent people in a campaign to get rid of reform, to get rid of Labour and to get rid of Tories. And that campaign can't wait till 2029. It needs to start now. It needs to start today. So let's make it happen, each and every one of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shabir. I thought that was a brilliant speech. Yes, we do need unity. We do need to come together to resolve this issue and educate the people who think supporting reform is a more patriotic. Rather, we have to educate them. It's not patriotic. It can be shown a different way rather than supporting the people who are promoting genocide, promoting massacres, and we have to work together. So next, I would like to introduce our EDI Co-Coordinator, who previously held the position of Young Greens International Officer in the Green Party. She has done tremendous work building bridges with fellow Greens internationally and has most recently represented the Young Green of England and Wales on a motion to declare what's happening in Gaza as genocide at the conference in Paris. Please welcome Rosa.
I'm no longer the Young Greens International Officer. I have passed that on to our friend Sin, and instead me and Lou are working as the EDI Co-Coordinators. I want to give just like a story of how I got to Paris. So before I went to Paris, I went to Dublin the year before at the Federation of Young European Greens Conference. And there was another motion on Palestine there. Because we didn't go prepared, because we went alone, we didn't talk to anyone previously to go into the conference. When I arrived, all the arguments were, they were separated, we didn't work together, everybody was repeating points, we weren't very strong because we were disconnected. And it left me feeling awful because the motion we passed in Dublin was not what any of us in this room would want to see on justice for genocide, on justice for apartheid, on justice for Palestine. So I went home and I was distraught, to be honest. I wanted to leave politics. I thought, if this is what politics is, this is not for me. But I came home to my mother and she said, Rosa, you have to take this knowledge that you have gained and you have to do better and you have to take it next year. So I stood for International Officer, I got it, and then I spent months prepping us for the next conference. I made sure we had a second delegate who was aware of what was going on, who wanted to fight, and she's also in this room. And I honestly cannot thank her enough for the support she gave. I made sure there were support networks, but really the point that I want to make is that the reason Paris went so well and we managed to get things passed in the motion that we couldn't have imagined in Dublin is I connected us with different countries way before the conference. I reached out to them, we worked together on amendments, we worked together on the motion, we made sure we met in person, well not in person, over Zoom, but we saw each other's faces and we knew we were not alone in that room, so there was a community there. So when we went strong, we went there together, and that's the point of the story, is that we cannot do this alone. To be alone is to be overwhelmed, to be alone is to be afraid, to be alone is to be beaten, because we are easily beaten alone. But the second we build bridges, the second we hold our hands out and we accept people's hands who are holding back, we are stronger, we are united, and that's the only way we are going to do it in this country if we want to beat reform and the far right, is we have to go into our communities and we have to hold our hands out and we have to offer that space, because if we don't, people will be left alone and afraid and vulnerable. But if we hold our hands out and we say we are together, we will all make stronger connections, and I think we'll win. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosa. That was an amazing insight to share. And as you mentioned, we are seeing the far right, not just in the UK, but across Europe, and we need global unity to face this crisis. So, our next speaker, I would like to introduce Luanne Thornton, who is sharing the role of the EDI coordinator with Rosa. Luanne has served as co-chair for the Oldham Green for 2 years and is known for her passionate advocacy for inclusion, equality and social justice. She has championed the voices of marginalized community and ensured every member felt included and empowered throughout her leadership. She continues to focus on ensuring visibility and growth of Green Party liberation groups through her role as the EDI co-coordinator. And she also does amazing work professionally as a disability advisor and sexual violence liaison officer. Please welcome Luanne Thornton.
Hello, thank you. First of all, I wanted to thank everyone here and thank everyone both in the audience and speaking on stage for helping us all come together today. So I want to start off with a story, and it's my family story. So my granddad came over from Ireland at a time when signs on pubs still read "No blacks, no dogs, no Irish." That wasn't just a sign, it was a message that he didn't belong. My grandma was severely disabled. She relied on the welfare system that often made life harder rather than easier. But she showed me what resilience really looks like. My mum, growing up through these struggles, now works for a Citizens Advice Bureau, turning hardship into empathy and action. But there is also pain to this story. The abuse and discrimination that my granddad faced had a huge impact on his mental health. He lived with schizophrenia. A reminder that inclusion must include mental health justice too. And now, as the queer daughter of this family, I know how much it matters that we build spaces where everyone feels welcome, where no one ever has to question whether they belong. That's what EDI is about. Not tick boxes, not statement. It's about building a community where people can bring their whole selves, where we see strength in difference. Together with Rosa, our EDI committee, our special interest groups, local party officers, and all of you, we're working to make sure the Green Party truly feels like home. A home for disabled people, migrants, queer people, working class members, everyone, because environmental justice and social justice are one and the same. My family story is just one thread. Each of us carries our own story of challenge and hope. And when we bring them together, that's where unity begins. Equality and diversity and inclusion aren't just principles. That's how we build strength, community, and real change.
Thank you, Luanne, for such an amazing speech. Yes, diversity is very important, and you can see that in our leadership. Our leadership is a Jewish man, practicing Muslim, and a woman serving together to build a better future together. With that, I would like to introduce our next speaker. He is our international coordinator, co-founder and co-chair of Muslim Green Liberation Group and co-chair of the Manchester Green Party. He was a former MP. Candidate for Oldham East and Saddleworth, and he continues to actively engage in grassroots activism and amplify underrepresented voice, including in global solidarity against injustice facing communities in Kashmir, Palestine, and many more. Please welcome Fesl Reza-Khan.
about the introduction. I'm sure you promoted me like 5 times there. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out today. It's all too easy just to stay at home on a Saturday afternoon, getting distracted by football or who's going to be dancing on whatever dancing show it's and not do this. But you are the best of us, and it was at such a meeting like this that I first met Shams on the street corner protesting the genocide in Gaza outside his MP's office, where his MP hadn't bothered holding a surgery for months because he was too afraid to face people like Shams. And I gave him my number, and to be honest with you, Shams, I never thought you actually ring him, but you did. And he took the second step, and from there, here we are. Behind all those roles, I'm just a little boy who grew up in Oldham. I grew up in a small, ordinary living family. We were actually quite poor. My dad worked on the buses. And I remember my memories were actually being quite scared of this huge world that I didn't understand, and the adults in my life couldn't help me understand what's going on around me. And I could see no hope or future for myself. So I left, and I actually joined the army. That was my escape out of this town. And every time I come back here, it's always a mixture of joy and sorrow. And from there, I built a little life for myself. Very imperfect, broken at times, but it's my life. And something happened almost 3 years ago that completely changed my life. I had a little baby daughter, and she is the centre of my life, as any parent will know. But for the first 2 weeks, she spent her life in NICU, and we weren't sure whether she was going to make it or not. And I spent, as a dad, outside, waiting quietly in the car park, trying to negotiate with my maker to take my life and spare her and let her live. And it's silly, I know, but you do that. And I don't know what pain or sorrow you might be going through. Poverty, homelessness, whatever it is, I just want you to know that to get to you, they'll have to come through us. And it's all too easy to let people stay on their knees and walk past. But the NHS staff at that hospital, they gave me a new lease of life. And then for the next 2 years, as I watched little babies like my daughter being turned into little mincemeat, into pieces, it broke me. And I had nowhere to turn, because when I protested, I realized that the levers of power, this democracy that we have, it's all a sham. It's like driving a car, pressing the brakes, and understanding there's nothing attached to the other end. And that's when my journey with the Green Party started. And I wasn't sure, because politics, it's not for me. And yet I found the most kindest, amazing people. At first I thought, oh my God, who are these people? They're oddballs, treat them this. And yet, I found courage and kindness. And that's where we started. Miranda, yes. that was, I found a home in Muslim Greens. I just want to quickly ask my colleague Asma to stand up. Sorry Asma, you turned up so you're going to have to stand up. We set up something called the Muslim Greens, and that's so important because at the heart of that group is 4 or 5 lionesses, women. They basically have told us where to go, when to go, and we've done it, and 2 years later, we have done so well. We've got elected councillors, we've got a deputy leader in Mothin, we've got chairs of local parties, all from people who thought involved in politics, people like you. And essentially that's what I'm actually after. This isn't really about me or us. It's an invitation to you, because we miss you. See, what we're about to witness in the world is a day with destiny. 3-4 years from now, we've got an election coming up. Probably one of the most important elections of the last 100 years, like it or not. And at that election, the world is about to change. Gone will be the old world, created by old men to solve problems and relics from that old world. And the world will be handed over, especially to you and to you. And that's what this really is about. That whatever we create, you will be leading it. You will be the councillors of tomorrow. You will be the MPs of tomorrow. And whoever you are in this room, I know you might think, I'm just here just as an audience. But I see something more. I see potential. I see leadership. And I hope you can also see that by the end of this day. Have conversations with us. Because you are the solution to the problem. And in terms of stopping the far right, the answer is here in you. Thank you.
Thank you, Fazal. Honestly, I don't know what to say anymore. It was so emotional and so inspirational. And yes, our youth is our future, and we have to nourish them, empower them to become our next councillor, next leader, who can take the country forward to the right direction, to the positive direction. So with that, last but not least, we have an amazing guest who doesn't really need an introduction. He is the co-deputy leader of the Green Party, which is currently the third largest party in the UK.
Second the polls.
And polling first among all UK voters under 50 according to YouGov. He is also Leeds City Councillor for Gipton and Harehills, and gained national attention in 2024 for his role in de-escalating the Harehills riot. Well, he was firm at urging calm and unity within his community. He's also been a vocal advocate on anti-racism, social justice and community cohesion, and has been openly challenging systemic injustice. Please welcome our Deputy Leader, Mothin Ali.
Thank you all for having me. When he was reading that, I thought he was talking about someone else. Can I just check how many people have joined in the last few months? Put your hands up. So we've got about half the room that's joined very recently. Right? That's an amazing thing to see. Whenever I've been travelling around the country recently, visiting different cities, doing meetings like this across the country. And I'm always amazed when I see so many new members. That means we're doing something right. That means our message is finally getting across. Right? Now, I joined the Green Party in 2020. And I joined the Green Party because I wanted to meet a bunch of hippies. People I could talk about gardening to. People I could talk about trees and plants and permaculture and think about growing. I love growing vegetables. Right? I thought I'd find a nice little club where I could talk about my vegetables. You can if you want.
Also in the Labour Party.
And that first meeting that I attended, it was candidate selection night, right? And they were looking for paper candidates to stand in the local election. So they had one target ward in the whole of the city, and the rest were going to be paper candidates. And they wanted to put me in some far off corner of the city that I had no connection to. So I said, if you want to use my name, then use it in Gipton and Harehills, the place I grew up in, or use it in Roundhay, the place I live in. And the guy for Roundhay was like, I want to campaign around here, I've got a reputation there. And the guy for Gipton and Harehills was like, that means nothing to me, you can have that. So we swapped over, and I was the candidate, the paper candidate for Gipton and Harehills. This is in 2022. And I'm not the kind of guy who just likes to sit around, so I get a little bit twitchy when I've got nothing to do. So it's a couple of weeks before election, and I started bugging the chair about getting some leaflets. He's like, no, you're a paper candidate, you can't have anything, we don't campaign unless it's a target ward, you can't do anything. So I said, just give me the contact for where I can get some leaflets. So he gave me the contact, I got some leaflets designed, I paid for the leaflets myself, and we went out, in about 2 or 3 weeks we got 1,000 votes. We didn't win, we came second, but it was the first time in 20 years that a solidly Labour ward had a candidate, a runner-up that got over that 1,000 vote barrier. In 2023, again, we weren't a target ward, so we had very little party support. We got 1,500 votes. In 2024, again, we're not a target ward. There's got 4 target wards. I'm not one of them. Very little party support. So again, we turned to the community, we raised our own money, we raised our own team from within the community, and we got 3,200 votes, and we left Labour behind. We made a breakthrough. So in a Labour stronghold, where people were asking me, did I invent the Green Party? Am I the founder of the Green Party? To where the Green Party is now on a polling second, ahead of Labour. When Zach, at his conference speech, or his acceptance speech, he announced that we're not here to imitate Labour, we're here to replace Labour. That's exactly what we're here to do. But we're not going to be just sat around like the lazy Labour councillors that we see up and down the city, like the lazy Labour MPs. That someone criticised me yesterday for calling some of the Labour MPs sellouts, and I reiterate that Labour MPs are sellouts. The Labour Party. The Labour Party has sold out to its principles. It's supposed to be a party that recognises and supports ordinary people. It's become a party that supports billionaires. It's become a party that supports genocide. We saw what's happening in Gaza. We saw the Labour Party sit back. Under a Labour government, genocide was allowed to take place. We're seeing now what's happening in Sudan. British weapons are being channeled through the UAE, shipped over to Sudan to kill more innocent people. Under a Labour government. Kids are going hungry. We heard the story from Andrew. Now when you spoke, right, I was moved by that because that's my story. Right, that's my story. We lived through hunger. I thought that hunger would, for kids growing up now, would go away. But we've got a Labour government, and I'm a councillor in one of the poorest wards in the city, one of the poorest wards in the country, and I have parents ringing me up, telling me that they can't feed the children, they can't find the right school uniform. I have to fight with schools who want £50 for a jumper because they've got yellow thread embroidered into the collar. So, if they don't go into school with that yellow thread on the collar, they get excluded. Right? So we've got systematic problems. There's no saviours coming. We're not. There's no one coming to save us. There's no one going to be shipped in. There's no one going to airdrop in from the sky and say, okay, I'm going to give you all the answers to all your problems. we've got to do the work. You know, every single person in this room, something's stirred inside you to wake you up and say, all right, I'm going to join something and I'm going to get involved. So we need you. We need every single person to get involved. Because the fight is too important. The work is too important. You know, the socialists have this phrase, educate, agitate, and organise. Right? We need to do all of those things. We need to start talking to each other. We need to start talking in our workplaces. We need to start talking in our local centres and our local circles. Because out there, there's people backed by big money. You know, serious money. We're backed by our ordinary members. We don't take massive donations of billionaires. We're backed by your subs. We're backed by the few. You see those emails coming around. I got an email the other day from someone called Mothin Ali asking if I'd donate to the Green Party. Exactly. But that's where our money comes from. It's honest. It comes from ordinary, hard-working people who are giving up their time, who are giving up their money, who are giving up everything to try and build a movement. And that's what we're doing. We're building a movement. We're building something special. And, you know, I was around when Respect started, and it felt like there was something happening, and it flopped. Lots of parties have come and gone. We've got talk of another party at the moment, and we're trying to build alliances, and they're trying to stand candidates against me next year. So, we're in this, but we're in this together. And that's what I want everyone to recognise, that regardless of whatever differences we have in this room with each other, what unites us is more than what divides us. And that's the same thing when we go outside of this room. Because I knock on doors, and people who are tempted to vote reform don't vote for reform because they love their policies. Because reform are going to try and privatise the NHS. Someone was talking about PIP. Cuts to PIP. If anyone knows about the PIP process, the amount of information that you've got to provide, the amount of tests that you've got to go through, the assessments, the work capability assessments. The people who get PIP, after they've gone through every single hurdle that's been placed in front of them, if they're faking it, they better be bloody good actors and they deserve Oscars. The attacks on migrants. Now, there's lots of people on this stage, in this room, who are second, third generation, first generation migrants, or children of migrants. Now, I made this joke at conference that my dad wasn't a tool maker. Right? My dad literally made the steel that made the tools. You know, my dad literally made the steel that built this country back up after the Second World War. And there's lots of people who are doctors, nurses, but we don't have to go for the prestigious jobs. Taxi drivers, or care workers, people who are doing the things that no one else wants to do, but without which our country would fall apart. These are essential services. Do you know? So, when we talk about the attacks on migrants from reform, that should be an attack on all of us. Because without immigration, this country was built on the back of immigration. Without immigration, without our neighbours, our friends, our families, there was an attack by reform, Nigel Farage wants to take away indefinite leave to remain. Now, my wife's from Bangladesh. She's no longer a threat because she's now got a British passport. But his idea would have meant stripping a wife away from a husband, a mother away from their children, a figure in the community, from her community, a life that she's built. These racist narratives that the far right try and peddle, they peddle because there's deep inequality in our society. People are desperate. And that doesn't matter about the skin and the colour of your skin, that doesn't matter about your religion, that doesn't matter about any other difference. People are struggling. So when people are struggling, they're easy to exploit, and that's exactly what Reform are doing. They're feeding them narratives, and they're feeding them narratives about an external threat. See, I was asked on a radio program recently, do I consider, or do I agree with Zach that Nigel Farage is a fascist? Absolutely, I agree with that. Reform is a fascist organisation at its heart, at its core. And fascist ideology always, regardless of its institutions and its manifestations, it always revolves around one core ethos, which is an external threat targeting an indigenous, a racialized group, and it's connected to land and soil. So right now, that's exactly the message that Nigel Farage is peddling. But we're a united community, and we've got to build that community, and we've got to build that resistance, and we've got to make sure that people who are desperate, who are looking for an alternative, have a real, credible alternative. We're standing up for the ordinary person. We're not going to stand up and bow down to billionaires. We're going to tax the billionaires. We're going to make sure there's a wealth tax. We're going to make sure, Rachel Reeves keeps talking about her 20 billion or 30 billion black hole, whatever number, it keeps changing every time. But a wealth tax would easily cover that. We heard about how nationalisation of key resources, the difference between Norway and the UK, ours was private, so instead of the money going back into our society, it went into private pockets. We can do the same thing again with renewables. Every single rooftop is empty. Put solar panels on every single rooftop, create microgrids, create independent communities. What we'll do is we'll create financial independence for people. You know, these are permaculture principles. So when I talk about permaculture, I'm not just talking about gardening. We can use those system design principles and apply them to the country and build systems where communities become resilient because now they're producing their own electricity. The cost of living's gone down. They've used this roof space that was empty. We've tackled lots of problems at the same time. And we found a solution that works for everyone. That's what we're about. We're about finding those solutions. And we're about making sure that we have the right people who have the right interests of the ordinary people at the heart. You know, I was asked yesterday, what do I want to achieve? I want to achieve the maximum benefit for the maximum number of people. And I don't care whether that's me who does it, or whether it's, I'm sure there's plenty of people who are better than me that can do it. Let's find them. And let's find my replacement as well, so I can go and sit in my garden.
Thank you, Mothin Ali.
it will take time to find your replacement. What you have to do is build someone, develop our youth to become someone like better than you. We all have to do that. We have to find our youth who can train them to make them better than us so they can lead our next generation. With that, before we move into our Q&A session, please feel free to take a couple of minutes break, stretch your leg, grab a cup of tea, and we'll start our Q&A shortly. So we'll now move into our Q&A session. Please raise your hand and hand to ask your questions, and the volunteer will come pass the mic. Please state your name, who would you like the question address the question to, and then your question. Please try to keep it short and concise. And if you prefer to write the question down, please let one of our volunteers know, and we'll pass it on the paper. Thank you. Yeah, go for it.
Hi. Is that working? Anyway, I've got a loud mouth. I'll just I'll talk loud. I'm Alan Price. Now, I must admit, I am not a member of the Green Party.
Why not?
I've just left. Right? I've just left the Labour Party. And the main reason you stated earlier. One of the most important things, I don't think it's just for me. I think there's a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of resentment against politicians. Because what I'm looking for, why I've come here today, is I'm looking for a party that represents decency. Decency to others, not sort of what they can get out of it, or being part of, I'm of a generation now that remembers Thatcher, and I feel that we're still suffering from Thatcherism all these years later. You know, it's disgusting, exactly as was said earlier. So, I was also, I think politicians over generations have actually built in, they want resentment, they want us to be divided. And the main reason they want us to be divided is while we're arguing against each other about things, we are then not focusing on their lack of investment, the lack of looking after our country, and the lack of putting the infrastructure in to building the houses and the social housing, etc. And instead, they'd rather have us fighting, so we don't. And I feel the Green Party, I must say now, after hearing this morning, as a bi-part. My wife and my younger daughter and myself, we spent last summer over in Greece helping Off an Arm, which is a charity that helps refugees who have just come in off the boats, helping them to clothe them and feed them, etc. And we were speaking to the refugees, and after all they've suffered, you know, and when you hear their individual stories, this is what doesn't get out to people. This is, I've been standing on the lines at the hotels against the far right. And the one main reason is when they say, well, why do you want to come to Britain? Is they feel we are decent people. Which the majority of us are. The majority of us just want the best for everyone. And it's that they have this belief that coming to Britain is nice, they will be treated properly and they will be looked after and treated with respect. And you know, you can't help. Sorry. Sorry. What was the question? Is good yet? Speed up. I do apologise. My question is, it's great. It's great to have a party like this. Just more is there's the local elections coming up. As you say, we've got the national elections in 4 years, but how, for the likes of myself, I'm retired now, just retired, and I want to empower you young people. I feel it's the service of us elders to pass on our knowledge and our expertise onto you young people, to give you the confidence to be able to stand up and take on people. You know, and one of the things I feel we have to do is show that there is a decent alternative, that it's not, oh, we're better than them. It's, we are here to support you, and we are with you, not against you, etc. My question is, how do we do that for the local? You know, what can we do here?
Right. We are here in the
I will do that. My eldest daughter is a member of the Green Party. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think anybody could answer it. I'll start. I'll hand over to others who want to answer. Look, it's a really important question. We've got the answer in this room. We've got more young people here than attend any of the party's meetings. 40% of all people under the age of 50, and an even higher percentage of young people under 25 have joined the Green Party. They've joined the Green Party because the Green Party is the only party that is offering hope. It's offering a future. It's not offering excuses and reasons why things can be better. It's offering a way to make things better. And we need those young people, and we need to empower those young people. We need to stand those young people as councillors. We need to create young people's forums in every town and every village up and down the country. And we need to empower them so that their voices can be heard, because it's their future that we're fighting for. People like me, we've had our time, you know. But the things that these young people are going to see haven't even been invented yet. Yeah, and their future is being gambled. Their future is being corrupted for personal gain, and we need them to stand up. And we need to create the forums where their voices can be heard. And that needs to start, as I said earlier on, it needs to start now. And I'm really pleased that we've got young people on the council, we've got young people in the room. We need more of them to join, and we need more of them to step forward. And we need to create safe spaces where they can come and have their voices heard and take the lead in issues that affect them. Thank you. Let's go to another question.
Next question to
I'm just wondering if we can take a couple of questions together due to time.
yeah.
That's okay.
Can we keep it to questions, please, rather than speeches, yeah? Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yeah, hear me anyway, regardless. Right, so the quick statement, just to say, Mothin mentioned about alliances. That's probably going to be the future. So I know it's difficult, but just work harder at those alliances, whether it's your party or Workers' Party, whoever on the left, just work harder is a statement I would say as an individual. The second question, I think I collared Mothin when he was going to get the team, just in terms of specifics. This is about 6.5 million, this is the question. There's about 6.5 million small, micro and SME businesses out there in the UK. They're the backbone of the economy. They're not all capitalists. They're CIC, social enterprises, small enterprises that you need to have a strategy for. Because often people have set up those small businesses because they couldn't get employment. That's what happened generationally, and it's still happening now. So you can have a strategy for that, engaging better, especially with the minority businesses. That's something that I tend to work with. I just see there's no proper strategy on the left to engage with the micro business sector. So please, as a plea, if you don't already have a strategy, look at developing a strategy for that before the local elections. So the question is what you would do to engage better with the 6.5 million businesses that employ lots of other people. But they're not big, they're not the billionaires, they're very small micro enterprises that you need to support. So that's my question. Very specific, but that's the question. But thank you, and it's been great to see everyone and hear the speeches as well. Thank you.
joined Rosa Green Party, and I'm trying to give it a bit of a kick up the arse.
Yes.
So I'm not into like dirty politics or anything, but you used a phrase there that I really like, and you said about agitating, which I'm always up for doing in whatever way I can. You also told all the Labour Party MPs sellouts, which I totally agree with. So my question is, how far can we go in our marketing, our social media posts, our leafleting and stuff, in calling out these MPs as sellouts? And, you know, even like the local councillors representing that party and stuff like that, appealing to their sort of better moral base and, you know, like the reasons they would join the Labour Party in the first place, if it's for those moral reasons. So how far should we go in our messaging in calling out these guys, you know, as well as selling up what we're doing, but, you know, calling them out for their hypocrisy? Thank you.
Does anyone have any specific question to EDI or Young Greens? Because our EDI member needs to leave early.
I do have another question, but I'll ask a question specifically to you. And that is, I haven't joined any political party, but if I joined the Green Party, I'm really keen on politics and getting involved in making a difference. So, as a young person, if I join the Green Party, how can I get involved? How can I make a difference?
Which one do you want to take?
Take that one first.
So in terms of the Young Greens, there's lots of ways to get involved. Obviously there's the local and regional branches, most of which are either starting up, reigniting, or just growing day by day because of the exponential growth of the party. In terms of what I say for anyone wanting to aspire to become a politician, or just generally want to get more active in the party, the Young Greens nationally have a programme called 30 Under 30, where every year we train 30 young people up. Last year they had a trip around Parliament to the House of Lords. We've had Zach Polanski there running public speaking sessions as well. So there's lots of opportunities that way, which is really good. We're also setting up a series of mentor sessions, and then we have national events for Winter General Meeting, and we had Mothin speak there last year, and we also have convention. Do you want to add anything, Rosa? Do you want to add about international opportunities?
That's true. There are also, if you want to get involved internationally, there are, we work very closely with FIEG, and FIEG run like training opportunities throughout Aurora that you can apply to be on. And if you want to do that, if you go through the Young Greens, they'll make sure to connect you to the right people. But honestly, the only reason I'm sat here is because I went through the Young Greens, and then Lou was like, oh, do you want to keep doing these things together? And I was like, yeah, let's go do them together. And so you make connections there, and that everyone is very politically active, and everyone wants to see a better world. So I would honestly really suggest you join.
The small business one is really interesting. So I'm an ex-banker myself, RBS Group, and I'm the CEO of an investment company. The issue in terms of taxation and small business strategy. So right now we have a tax system, which if you can all see this pyramid here, that's how it is. At the top end of that pyramid, the big, huge corporations pay relatively that kind of tax, and the big tax burden here, it's like that. And what we want to do is turn it upside down, so that they take a much larger, fairer share. And I don't know if you saw Zach's video, you know, there are people when we go to sleep, when they wake up, they will have made more money just sleeping than we will make in an entire year or 10 years for having to go every day to work. And that's not fair. So, and now in terms of our actual sort of business strategy, we are all about small, medium businesses. We're not, punish people for doing better or work hard. That's not what we're after. What we're after is justice, economic justice. And I think that's where we do differ from the traditionally sort of left leaning parties, is that we are a very, very broad church. Economically, I'm much more to the centre personally. And we win in constituencies like Hereford, Norfolk, Sussex. Half our MPs are actually they took their seats from Tories. Is because there's a lot of people in this party who are traditional middle class, tea drinking, Middle England, So we appeal to a huge, broad church.
Just remind me of your question.
Sorry, no.
Whose question? So we've got small businesses, we've got how far can we push it, we've got how far can we push it, the Labour Council. Okay. So, I'm an accountant by profession. So I know the impact of things like VAT and how that impacts particularly service industries, right, nighttime economies. I know the impact that businesses are facing. So we are looking, there is work going on behind redesigning. I think the whole tax system needs redesign. We've got this big landmark policy on wealth tax, but I think the whole system needs redesign. Because there's too many loopholes, there's too many places for people to escape. Rich people can hire a ton of accountants and a ton of lawyers that can get them out of every loophole. We need to close those, and we need to make sure that every single person pays a fair share of tax. Bringing capital gains in line with income tax. Bringing dividend tax in line with income tax. All of these things need doing. How far can we push it? We'll give you another opportunity. Let's just get everyone's questions. So how far can we push it?
Just to clarify, my question was not about taxation.
No, it's about
how you engage better with that 6.5 million business, and that's an opportunity for yourselves as Greens. It's not about taxation. It's more about your relationship and building that engagement, especially with minority-led businesses, because that's something that no other party is doing. Basically, you've got an opportunity there. But I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I get your question. But if we can communicate our strategy around what we're offering, our communication has improved massively in the last few months. We're refining that, and as long as we can get our key message across, it's going to be appeal to those very people that you're talking about. How far can we push it? How can we push it? Unfortunately, you're asking someone who's a little bit naughty. Look at the work Greens organised, right? Look at the work of Manchester Greens, Bromley Greens, Brighton Greens. Look at their social media, and you'll get a gauge of how far we can push it. I've got no issue in calling someone a sellout if I believe they are a sellout. But one thing that we've got to make sure is that whatever we say has to be accurate and has to be truthful. Okay, we can't compromise on that. How to get involved. So you've got loads of opportunities within the party with Young Greens and but your local branch is where it all starts. There's lots of things to be done inside the party, but having those conversations on the doors, putting a leaflet through, I can't stress how important that is, and how we have lots of people who want to get involved, but that's the work. It's dirty, it's hard, but it's the grassroots work that really makes the difference.
Can I just say that the Green Party used to have a big manifesto for a sustainable and I think it still exists. It's on the website, and I'm sure under the economics section, the point about. You're really in this. I'm sure that the point about SMEs is addressed there.
It is, yes.
Fairly certain. I couldn't quote it line by line.
Thank you. Next question.
Hello. So I recently joined. I found that there's not a lot of guidance as to what roles we can play within the party or what those roles actually involve. Along with that, there's not a lot of guidance on strategy to reach out to communities, like, you know, or we can go litter picking, but outside of that, what kind of communities are we reaching out to, you know, what kind of organisations have worked out well in the past. So how can you guys sort of empower us to learn how to do that?
Are you in Oldham?
Rochdale.
Rochdale, okay. So, we've got something called Target to Win, okay? And the first thing is to identify an area that you want to campaign in. Then you identify who's in that ward, you know, who is your target, and how to appeal to them. And then it's about making sure that you get an effective frequency across, making sure that you're leafleting, making sure that you're having conversations, making sure that you've got a visible presence, making sure you've got a candidate who is behaving like the councillor even though they're not elected. All of that is about getting someone in. But we're in a state of growth at the moment. Parties like Oldham, parties like Rochdale, they're going to go through a lot of transition. And right now we need all hands on deck to make sure that you shape that transition. If there's not guidance, and if there's not active recruitment on here, you go and do this, you go and do this, that's telling me that there isn't someone to tell you that. So we need people who can get on board and become that person. So in areas like this that are quite underdeveloped in terms of our local parties, we need you to become the party. It's a lot of work, I'm sorry, you just joined here, chair this party.
Just to add to that. So, all of us here, all of the councillors, nearly all of us, we got elected in spite of, not because of Target to Win. So, my message to you is, if you've got fire in your belly and you want to do something, then bloody well get on and do it. And don't let the Green Party or anybody else get in your way. Okay? That's the answer. Okay? We've got 150,000 members. 150,000. 70,000 of them weren't members 4 weeks ago. So we are growing at a rate of knots. And we now have more capacity than we've ever had. And that means that we can campaign anywhere and everywhere. And I don't mind Target to Win. Target to Win's fine. It's a way of targeting resources. It's not a barrier to you going and knocking on doors in your neighbourhood and telling the people in your neighbourhood to step up, and wake up. Okay? But we really have to get that message out there. The Target to Win is a strategy. It's not a stranglehold. It's not a barrier. It's not to stop you from winning, it's to help you to win. And if there isn't somebody in your community who's helping you with that, well, be that person. That's what I did, that's why I became a councillor. I stood, after 5 months of joining, there were no Target to Win wards in Accrington, so I became my own Target to Win ward, and with no money, and with 3 weeks of campaigning, we smashed the hell out of Labour, and we'll do it everywhere else.
I'm sensing that there is a lack of strategy actually at the top that can feed down to the local companies. where people can then have an understanding of what policies they need to be promoting in that locality, such as the business question about marketing, question about what do we do in Rochdale. That's required. That requires leadership at the top. Filter it down so people understand what the policies are. Go on your website, people can follow that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. To have a template that you can look at. Can I just say one more thing? It's more a statement than anything. In response to that, is parish councils. Go to parish, young people, get young people.
Let's go to the other question.
Hello, this is not a question, more like an answer. I member for the Green Party for how many years? And I started as a petty candidate. I'm in Oldham, but I have the same questions you just had. I felt lost because I am not in politics. I am very passionate about doing the right thing and to support our fellow humans, and I'm very passionate about nature. But I wanted to join a party that can show me the roadmap on how to join, and was no such a thing. You know, and I hear you, how you passionate you are, and some people have the drive to go and do it. Other people have jobs and other things and need that roadmap. But I hear you, and I know there are times that we cannot wait for that roadmap. So all I have to say to people are here, Miranda and people I met before, come meet, not lose you, and then let's start meeting again. I don't receive emails anymore, so I don't know what happened, who is managing emails. So I think let's not lose this meeting, stay a little bit behind, and let's get the names, and let's start meeting, and let's start moving forward. Because I think Rochdale and Oldham join at some point, I don't know what's happening.
So in terms of leadership strategy, that's why I talked about target to win. Okay, we have a strategy, we have one that's in place that is proven to be effective, especially in areas that are underdeveloped as local parties. In larger parties, it's easier to recruit people and funnel them. But where we're experiencing massive growth as we are, in underdeveloped parties, sometimes we need to find out how. So there's a lot of things I've identified here. So I'll go back and I'll speak to our local field organisers and say, okay, we need some more support in Oldham. So that's the takeaway for me. But the strategies there's lots of training courses on our website. So lots of how to campaign, how to get involved, what we need doing. There's lots of that information there. So I'm hearing two messages. One is that it's not being communicated well enough to our members, and the other thing is our field organiser needs to spend a little bit more time. Since I've won quite a few grants for the north from our party, so there's more money being funneled into the north, and there are more roles and more opportunities for staff members. And as we're growing, we will funnel more resources into areas like this. But until that time, we need people to step up and really push. And lean on me. I'm around. Okay.
Is there an Oldham Green Party? Or is it Oldham and Rochdale?
No, it's two separate. Oldham and Rochdale. That's a really interesting question. So look, the Green Party, we don't have the money and the resources because we don't take donations from corporations and lobby groups. So that gives us freedom and independence, but the price is that we don't have the resources to go and spend, millions and whatever on adverts like the Tories or Labour. And then we're up against a compliant media and establishment which just keep on pumping the uni-party message. So that's what we're actually fighting. But what that means is that in this room you're going to have people who can build things, people who are salespeople, people who are connectors, and people who are great administrators. And it's finding which role you can do within that, because that's the stage we're at right now with Oldham and Rochdale is the building. You see, you walked, especially the people who just joined, walked into a party which is version 1.0. What we're doing is, the last 3 months has just been completely transformative. So what we're trying to do is build a version 2.0 of this party, and that's where you come in.
We'll have 2 more questions, then we'll finish it off.
It's not really a question, it's just a second for people to actually come along to the meetings. We meet monthly in Oldham, and you're more than welcome to come. I only went a few times and ended up getting elected into the officer, but that's because there's not many of us, so please come along to
How do we find out when they're on?
Join!
No, I mean, how do we find
Join
out?
and you'll get an email.
Oh,
Saying
okay.
come to our meeting.
I think the lady made a real good suggestion. At the end of today, if you're from Oldham and you're interested, stick around, talk to one of the officers, get your name on an email address, and you'll get an email.
And if you're from Rochdale, I'll do a private meeting.
Our secretaries does the emails, the main is here.
Excellent.
Have we got any officers from Rochdale here?
Sorry, can we take the question from Afus Bhai? A question from Afus Bhai.
Assalamualaikum and peace to you all. My question is, beyond the environmental policy, what is the Green Party's most important national priority? And how do you plan to turn that vision into measurable, achievable outcomes in government, inshallah?
Alright, okay, so this one, I just wanted to ask, so traditionally I haven't joined a political party yet, and that's because traditionally I like the idea of sort of one nation conservatism, making Britain as good as it can be, that support for its people, make strong interests and that. And the reason why I haven't joined a political party is because the Tories, they've gone back and they've shifted rightward and they only care about billionaires. Labour gone back on all their promises. As you said, they are sellouts. Liberal Democrats, they're a bit so and so. And I'm not particularly right-wing in that. I don't agree with all this immigrant bollocks. My granddad is an immigrant. He came here from Libya, and my other granddad is an Irish immigrant. This country was built by immigrants. I'm not buying into any of that rhetoric. But at the same time, in terms of the economy, like you are a bit more centrist. I think I agree with sort of capitalism, and I agree that everyone should have, if you're a businessman, everyone should have an equal opportunity to make their fortune through business and free enterprise and that sort of thing. So my question is, do you have to be like a left-wing socialist to be a member of the Green Party?
Not essential, but it helps.
Yeah, so the first question was around what other national policies apart from the environment. The history of the Green Party, we were called the People's Party. Okay. On the merger of the Ecology Party to become the People's Ecology Party, which merged to become the Green Party. So people have always been at the heart of what we do. That's why we promote things like the wealth tax. That's why we promote things like the renationalisation of key infrastructure such as water, utilities. Because that is going to make the life of ordinary people better. And in terms of being economically centrist and socially left, okay, yeah, well, social. This is where I get into some arguments with the real socialists, right? The ones who will test you on how red your shoes are, or they don't want to join the Greens because we're not socialist enough. Now, they will describe what the gentleman over there described as the sort of small to medium-sized, really micro businesses, as the petty bourgeois. Right? The people who are trying to get themselves along in the economy, you know, get themselves advanced. I don't think there's anything wrong with aspiration. I think it's an important thing, and I think it's something that should be nourished. But it has to be a level playing field. You know, where kids come from poverty and kids come from wealth, they're not on a level playing field. One's already got a mile head start. We have to have an equal society where we can make sure that everyone has the same opportunity to begin with. But once they've made it, and once they've become wherever they've got to, or wherever their aspiration leads them, they didn't do it on their own. No one ever does it on their own. Do you know, they've had help from friends, they've had help from all of us in terms of education. We've given them that. We've given them the NHS to make sure that they're looked after. So it's right that once they make it, that they contribute back and build society back up. Because there's another generation to come. And we've got to give them the same opportunities that we have. I didn't get a free university education. But I got a lot cheaper student loans and lots cheaper tuition fees than the kids that are going to university now. We've got to make sure that everyone has an equal playing field. To make sure everyone has the equal opportunities.
Just a question then. So if you do make it and you become like a billionaire, then if everyone's going to have like the same playing field, when they die, you're just going to take that sort of wealth away and distribute it amongst people. Are they able to keep that, inheritance?
That's not a policy of ours. Okay, that's not a policy of ours that we seize everyone's wealth.
Yeah, no, I think that. What I meant is that if you sort of build something for yourself, then how is it going to be like an equal playing field if some people are millionaires and inherit their house or inherit businesses and stuff?
Inheritance is important, but we've got to recognise that inheritance, as important as it is for families, it's also unearned wealth. And rightfully it's taxed. Okay. But once it's taxed, if you look at the inheritance tax thresholds, basic is 360, right? You combine that between husband and wife and you pass it on the principal family residence, you can go up to 600,000, 700,000. So that's a huge amount of money before it's getting taxed. Okay? So once your estate is at that level, and then it's getting taxed over and above that, I don't think that's too much to ask. Yeah. So there's a huge amount being passed on. And asking for a little bit of cream off the top, I think we can all share a little bit of that.
It's just worth mentioning that the mainstream media deliberately misrepresent the tax policies of any progressive party. So when a progressive party says we're going to tax millionaires and billionaires, they will go on the TV and they'll say they're going to tax you. Even though you haven't got a cat in hell's chance of ever becoming a billionaire. You know, I've got more chance of going 2 heads than you've got of becoming a billionaire. But they will tell you that we're coming after you. And they'll tell you that because their job is to protect the billionaires from scrutiny. The question we should be asking is, why does anybody need to be a billionaire? Yes. That's the question. Why does anybody need to be a billionaire? Why does Elon Musk need to become a trillionaire? He's damned at the moment to become the world's first trillionaire. That means he will have more money than most countries, and already he's corrupted the USA, he's funding Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage, he's trying to corrupt the world. So we have to get past this nonsense that somehow this is earned wealth. Once you get past the 10 million, the rest of it you earn just because you've got 10 million. Money makes money. You don't do any extra work. As Mothin said somewhere not too long ago, the CEO of Tesco gets paid 413 times more than 431 times, because I'm dyslexic, okay? 431 more times than his lowest paid workers. Does he work 431 times harder than that worker? No. Does he? Wow. Sorry, the children are forgive me. If I was the head teacher, I'd be suspended now. Okay.
That's the end of our event. A big thank you to all of our speakers, our chair, panel and amazing volunteers. Thank you all for attending and joining us today. We hope you have found this insightful. And you can take ideas from this and to be actively involved in delivering positive change in our society. Please also don't forget to watch our latest podcast with Mothin Ali, which will be released next week. We hope you enjoy the rest of the day.